Central rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app.
Coming up on the Best of the Paul Finebaum Show podcast, Brett McMurphy tells us Alabama would take Everett Golson if the Notre Dame transfer is interested in playing for the Tide. Mike Bianchi reacts to Florida State fans turning on Bobby Bowden, and, of course, your phone calls. It's the Best of the Finebaum Show podcast, and it starts right now.
This is the Best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Welcome in. We have made it to Wednesday, and what a show we had yesterday. We'll talk about some of the repercussions and the fallout from Bobby Bowden's now much ballyhooed conversation here. It made news all over the country, and the FSU fan base not very happy. You would think they might defend the man who built their program, the man that put the program on the map. Instead, some, not all, some have sold Bobby Bowden out for Jameis Winston. Jameis did bring a national championship, but what else? And that will be one of our topics of conversation tonight. Bobby Bowden front and center in the aftermath of what he said here yesterday. Your phone calls, of course, at 855-242-7285. Love to hear from you. You can always tweet us, email us. We'll talk to George Bodenheimer tonight. Yes, the former president of ESPN. He has a book out about ESPN entitled Every Town is a Sports Town. From the mailroom to the boardroom, we'll talk to him. Mike Bianchi will also join us. He has come after FSU fans today who have ripped Bobby Bowden. And Bruce Pearl, the Auburn basketball coach, just to check in with him to see how he's doing. He played in a golf tournament today in Birmingham. That is a collection of many celebrities. Bo Jackson, who was with us yesterday. I'm glad Bo was able to find time to play golf today. Yesterday he seemed so busy. I didn't know if he'd be able to make it. Bo was in the tournament. Dan Mullen, Hugh Freeze, also Coach Saban, Gus Malzahn, among others. So a big celebrity tournament, a prelude to a senior event that begins tomorrow at Shoal Creek Golf Club in Birmingham, right outside of Birmingham. So we'll talk to Bruce about also Avery Johnson was in the Pro-Am as well. We'll get your phone calls in a moment, 855-242-7285. Let me ask you guys, because you follow the social networking a little more closely than me, but John, you followed from the moment the Bowden story erupted yesterday. Kind of take the viewers and the listeners through what was an eruption I haven't quite seen in a long time from this show.
Well, Bobby Bowden sure had a Hall of Fame football career, and he had a Hall of Fame radio interview yesterday on this show. And when we put that quote out on social media, it absolutely spread like wildfire. Maybe one of the best quotes ever mentioned or uttered on this show, aside from one famous man named Harvey Updike.
Yeah. Florida State fans are sensitive. That's all I can assume with
Just go to hashtag FSU Twitter, and you'll see what we mean.
Yeah, and I was on with Mike Bianchi earlier today, and I made this statement, and I'll say it here. Just because FSU has a very small selection of wackos and idiots, it's not a bad fan base. A lot of great FSU fans. We hear from them every day, but the very small percent of FSU fans really give that school a bad name, and some are in the media down there. I mean, because we all know OTL did a piece on this not too long ago about how people were harassed in the media. A Tampa writer was harassed because he dared to question Jameis Winston. They're very thin-skinned. Some are very thin-skinned. I have to keep catching myself because the majority of fans everywhere are good, but that small minority make FSU fans and make all fans and fan bases look really bad sometimes. Anyway, more phone calls at 855-242-7285. We'll spend a little time on the fallout from that here yesterday. Let's begin in Orlando with Ryan. Hey, Ryan, thanks for the phone call. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. Thanks for the time again. Paul, I'm an alumni of Florida State, and I can tell you that the consensus is that Bobby Bowden is a legend. He brought us to where we are with the I'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime mentality, then I'm glad we have carried that on. But, Paul, he's wrong on this issue. He's absolutely wrong. Jameis Winston is a savior at Florida State. He should have a statue erected to him. From 2008 to 2006 to 2011, we went to the Emerald City Bowl, Music City Bowl, Champs Bowl, Gator Bowl, Champs Bowl again, Paul. Those are all fine bowls, but they are certainly below Florida State. You want to know what's embarrassing, Paul? What's embarrassing is 30 losses. 30 losses in the last 5 years that he was here. Jameis came in, and Jameis lost one game, Paul. He lost one game. He restored us to national prominence. As far as junior high decisions, Paul, junior high decisions are what us alumni refer to as the Jeff Bowden era, when he was our offensive coordinator, and we couldn't muster a touchdown. We got shut out by Wake Forest. As far as any of the other fans at Florida State want to jump on and jump all over Jameis Winston, and I'm glad he's gone, well, good. I hope you enjoy the Champs Bowl again. But that's not going to happen because we're just reloading, and I'm glad it's not going to happen. Paul, if there's a lot of things Jameis Winston is. I think he's a Hall of Famer. There's a lot of things that he is. But I'll tell you one thing that he knows. He knows that it's always better to leave too early than to overstay your welcome, which is something that Bobby didn't have in his wisdom. Paul, I'm going to follow what Jameis did, and I'm going to leave you. I certainly appreciate the time. Good night.
Thank you very much. Good stuff. Listen, I can't find much fault in what you said. I'm on the record. Anyone who wants to go back and review my columns from my former life, I was very critical of Bobby Bowden staying as long as he did. I thought it was long past his time. I like him. Who doesn't like Bobby Bowden? But he did take that program and rammed it right into the iceberg because he was too stubborn, because he couldn't see that the end had come. Not that the end was near, but the end had come. He hired his son. It was a disaster. Jimbo Fisher was a good get when he brought Jimbo in, and then he wouldn't leave. And Jimbo played politics and got the job. Program is in much better shape today. But don't forget what Bobby Bowden did. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying here. Let's go to Chris next in Birmingham. Chris, thank you. Good afternoon.
Hey, Paul, what's up with you, man? You doing all right?
I am doing great. Thank you.
Good to hear, man. Hey, man, I gotta point something out, Paul, man. You do realize that you directed that narrative, homie. You imposed embarrassing in your question, and you know Bobby Bowden's not 40 years old, man, keen and with the aptitude of what he may have had, 20 years ago. I'm not saying his knowledge or anything has diminished, but I'm just saying, Paul, if you wanted an objective answer, then you would have asked that question more objectively. You would have said, hey, how do you feel about Jameis's overall impact on FSU? Not throw the whole, basically, like I said, Paul, you kind of guided that whole narrative, man. I mean, how you feel about that, man? I mean, am I correct in that? I just really want to know your opinion on that.
Well, let me say this.
Okay.
I did use the word embarrassing. I was talking about what happened the night of the NFL draft. I've been criticized for that. That's fair. Listen, I'm in the business, okay? I'm not one of these thin-skinned talk show hosts who can't take criticism. I disagree with the premise. I understand Bobby Bowden's 85 years old, but he sounded pretty good to me. He sounded very lucid to me. I didn't say, Bobby, wouldn't you agree it was a total embarrassment? That's setting someone up. I just said I thought his behavior on selection night was an embarrassment. What do you think of Jameis Winston? And he's the one who said, he didn't say, I think Jameis is an embarrassment. He said, I think it's a consensus of FSU fans and boosters. So, listen, we can have a conversation. You can criticize me for that. That's fair.
No, Paul, you my man. I'm not criticizing. I'm just pointing out points. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to be objective as possible because I admit I am biased. I called you all summer long last year and got on you about how Jameis was being treated. How I felt like more coverage or more dialogue could have been directed about his great play and what type of quarterback I haven't seen in so long that has come into college and done what he did. So I'm a little biased, Paul. Like I said, I'm a little biased. Nevertheless, I still feel like it was kind of tabloidish, man, to direct it in that manner.
Well,
and I
listen,
just feel like, man,
you know what, Chris? I do what I do. I'm transparent. There's nothing hidden about what we do here. And when you do an interview like that, you are going to be open to interpretation. And my view is let you have your view. And I responded. I won't say any more. I think the interview speaks for itself.
Hey, man, I respect it, Paul. I respect it. And I was just going to say, man, we have to be honest about the situation. Man, what Jameis did was nothing compared to what, has occurred in the news, down in Alabama. Man, crab legs. Okay, we found out that they were given to him, standing on the table. Of course, he's got to hold himself more accountable. He has to be more mature, definitely. I agree with that. But, man, when you make a statement and you make the equivalent of embarrassing, legacy embarrassing, and then compared to what he did versus what I'm hearing in the news constantly, what's being done in other campuses and such. And I respect Nick Saban, so I won't even bring that as an example. But my point is, let's keep it real, man. Paul, I appreciate the time, homie.
And I appreciate your call. Thank you very much, Chris. Great stuff, and very nice of you to call. Selena is next up in Ohio. Hey, Selena, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. You've been having an eventful couple of days.
I have. It's been fun.
I can tell. It's been fun for me, too. I mean, yesterday, I thought it was really interesting how quickly the Twitter feed blew up. I had to turn off the notifications on my phone. And then I started tracking everything, and you peaked, I believe, at number 4 on the trending now list on Twitter.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, within an hour. It was pretty interesting. But something that I wanted to say regarding this, and it's not just about Florida State fans. Same could be said for the Alabama fans who got upset when you were criticizing Nick Saban for taking Taylor in on the team. And there's a difference between a fan and a fanatic. You can be a fan of the game, but I think fanatics are more, what's the word I'm looking for? I think they're devoted more to a team or a school than they are to the sport. And sometimes if you're that involved with a specific team, it's kind of hard to separate yourself out. There's the difference between winning on the field and how awesome that is and not being able to separate that from what happens off the field. And I personally think you were right for laying most of the blame on the Winston situation with the Coach Fisher.
Yeah, and Selena, that's one thing people have missed, and I brought the media into it today, and I'm very sincere. I rarely attack fellow media members, but I mean there are a couple of people that run blogs and websites and are on Twitter at Florida State that are really the lowest common denominator when it comes to reality. They have enabled that program where a good, honest conversation may have been worthwhile and helpful. And as far as Jimbo Fisher, I made a decision at some point just to let it go on Jameis and to move the conversation over to Jimbo. And I've already had all I can say about Jimbo Fisher. There's nothing else I can add to what I've said previously on many forums, and you know what I'm talking about. But I was glad Bobby said what he did yesterday. Bobby Bowden is 85 years old. He is bitter about the way it ended there. I'm sure he didn't really appreciate the fact that Jameis Winston never gave him the time of day. I think I read somewhere the two have never met. But that happens when people stay too long, and I'm sure it will happen to me when they escort me out of the building in handcuffs.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
We were talking during the break about Bowden's most interesting comment of the conversation, and that was the one that he essentially said, we didn't want to deal with the SEC. We chose our own path. I know, and who doesn't know what Florida State has done? It's a remarkable record. Yes, they beat an SEC school in the national championship game. Big deal. could Florida State have contended in the early 90s and throughout time and have been as successful in the SEC as they were, making the national championship game 5 times in the ACC? The answer is obvious. No. That's not my opinion. That's Bobby Bowden's opinion, and he gave it here yesterday. Let's continue with more calls. Robert is next in Oxford, Mississippi. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
Very well.
Jameis Winston, very good college football player. Very good. Few mistakes off the field. Jimbo Fisher, also a good coach. Bobby Bowden, Hall of Fame coach, no doubt. But I'd like to talk about the future. How do you see Florida State faring in the next couple of years?
I think they will be good. I don't think they will be great. I think Clemson is the team to beat right now in the ACC.
Okay, I'd like to talk to you about a date. September the 5th, 2016. Ole Miss plays Florida State in Orlando. Tell me what you think about it. I'll get off the phone and listen. Thank you.
It's an interesting game. That's a hard one to answer because let's see who leaves Ole Miss and where Ole Miss is from a quarterback standpoint. But I think it will be very competitive. I give Ole Miss a shot. Right now, though, it's impossible to predict. Thank you, though, for the call. Do appreciate it. David in Anderson, South Carolina. Hey, David.
Hey, Paul. How you doing? Appreciate you taking my call.
You bet.
You have a great show.
Thank you.
But Paul, one thing I want to say, your first caller down in Orlando, the guy's an idiot. I'm going to tell you why. Jameis Winston was a proven liar. He was a proven thief, and at least one lady down there thinks he's a rapist. But I guess if you just win ball games, nothing else matters. The guy down there that called, he needs to get a life, and he needs to learn what's right and what's wrong. And I just hate it when people put athletes on a pedestal like they can't do no wrong. I think he was an embarrassment to the school. And that's really all I have to say. I want to get your opinion, and go Gamecocks.
Thank you. No, he was an embarrassment. There's no doubt. But, there's a certain element of fans. And by the way, it wouldn't be any different in Alabama. Wouldn't be any different in Georgia or Auburn or LSU or anywhere else. Fans want to attack the messenger, and that's what FSU fans did. They got a national championship. They almost got another one. Their head coach was all in. The fans were all in, and Jameis is gone. And I don't know what the future lies for Jameis Winston in terms of FSU, whether he'll be a regular on campus and whether they'll put statues up. I doubt it, but I think most people down there were pretty glad to see him go for the reasons which Bobby Bowden stated here yesterday. Lance is up next. Lance, thanks. Good afternoon.
Oh, that's why you're the best host in the world, man. You know how to set them up. That second caller was an embarrassment. But you said it best yesterday, Paul. You said Bobby Bowden ain't saying that nobody else said. He just carries more weight than everybody else. So people are starting to pay attention. I thought that was a good statement by you. But Bobby Bowden, I got to tell you, man, it sounds to me like he's just a little bigger because he got ran out. And Jimbo Fisher won a couple championships. But we all know Bobby Bowden struggled the last 4 or 5 years. But I do got to say this about Bobby. He was 8-4 against Florida. Florida was the best team in the 90s. So maybe he could win in the SEC.
Well, here's what Spurrier used to say about that, Lance, because I talked to him many times. He said, listen, we go through the SEC schedule. We deal with Auburn, we deal with Georgia, and back then, Florida played Auburn and Georgia around the same time of the calendar. And meanwhile, FSU was at Wake Forest and NC State and a bunch of and Duke, schools that at the time were totally embarrassing. So he always felt that by the end of the year, his program was worn down, had played 4 or 5 or 6 big-time games a year, while FSU had played Clemson and Miami.
I agree with that, Paul, because I always thought Spurrier would have at least 2 more national championships if he didn't play Florida State in a year. But that's what makes me upset about fans in general. They're a prisoner of the moment. They want to come in here. How about Bobby Bowden's a no-name with Jameis Winston and everything? He ain't no Tim Tebow. Nobody is. At the same time, when you got character problems like that man's got, he don't even deserve to be on the field, man. But that's what happens in this day and age. Everybody just wants to win. They don't care if it's clean or dirty, man. That's why I'm so proud of the Florida Gators and what Tim Tebow stood for, man. Because he had all the temptation, every chance in the world. But what did he do? He walked the line, baby. Go Gators. Thank you, Paul.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Bobby is next up in Birmingham. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, how you doing, big buddy?
Really well.
You're a bad man, Finebaum.
I know.
I tried to tell everybody that would listen last year, boy, you're a perpetrator.
You were first up on perpetrators.
Hey, Paul, you set the table yesterday on Bobby Bowden at Florida State, and you made them eat, and they've been eating ever since yesterday. The old gang over there at Public on Green Spring, they told me to tell you, say they try to get in every day. Say, but they want you to know they listen to you every day. Old Trace and the gang over there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, I'm going to give you something to put in your next book now. In the beginning of your next book, but you got to run it by me before you put it in. I want you to start it off like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you that dynamic personality that held the streets and sidewalks of Birmingham, Alabama, the perpetrator and the manipulator, Paul Finebaum. Before you put it in the book now, you got to run it by me because I got a patent on it. So you keep on perpetrating, Paul.
What do you think about just calling the book The Perpetrator?
Yeah, well, you good at what you do, Paul. You're the setup man in talk radio. You know, just like setup pitchers come in the eighth inning, you do your job, boy. Old Bobby Bowden. I remember when Bobby Bowden was a coach over at Howard College. Sanford now. I was a boy then, you know. But one thing I don't like about old Bobby Bowden, I'm not a Jameis Winston fan. I told you that, you know, because he needs to grow up. But Bobby Bowden had some gangsters playing for him, too, when he was at Florida State. And we always knew that Bobby Bowden didn't want to come in the SEC. And he finally admitted it yesterday. Couldn't handle it. If he had to come in the SEC, I don't believe he would have won a national championship. What about you? What you say?
He would have won national championships. He just wouldn't have had as much success. I don't think there's any question FSU has had enough good teams. They would have been able to navigate the SEC from time to time.
Yeah, but look at the teams in the ACC, Paul. Wake Forest.
Oh, I know.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, that team he had last year, I'm not saying it would have been undefeated, but it would have been really good.
But I believe he had a bone to pick with Jimbo Fisher. That's just, I believe it was something between him and Jimbo Fisher.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I don't believe he cared so much for Jimbo Fisher.
Bobby, thank you. Appreciate the call very much. Let's continue with more calls. And Greg is up next in Kentucky. Hey, Greg.
Hey, Paul.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking my phone call, buddy. I've been a big fan for a lot of years. I will go on record to say that I'm born and raised in Georgia. I'm a Georgia dog, go Dogs. But
you bet.
I want to let you know that people like us appreciate having somebody like you that'll not just take all the craziness and the embarrassment stuff that all these players do. They need to understand that this is a privilege to get to play for these teams. Don't get out there and ruin it. They are people like us that look up to these people that appreciate the game for what the game is. You always have been one of them that will stand up for what's right. You don't just get on there and say what people want you to say, and people like us appreciate having a voice like you out there.
Greg, thank you. And I think what we all appreciate is the opportunity to talk with you and many others every day. That's what we're all about. And that's what we'll be about until they tell us we can't do this anymore. Don't see that happening anytime soon.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Mike Bianchi is all over the story as well. A column today down in Orlando titled "Shame on FSU Fans Who Ripped Bobby Bowden for Calling Jameis Winston an Embarrassment." Mike Bianchi, talk show host and columnist, joins us. Mike, thanks for the time. We just we actually just saw a comment from Lovie Smith striking back at Bobby Bowden. Give us your reaction, being in the state, on the ground, to Bowden's comments about Jameis and the reaction.
I'm just astounded. I'm astounded at Lovie Smith. I'm astounded at Florida State football fans. I mean, anybody who's upset at Bobby Bowden because he had the audacity to tell the truth about Jameis Winston and say some of the things he did at Florida State were an embarrassment to the program. I mean, they were. I'm just, to use a Bobby Bowden word, I'm bumfuzzled that Florida State fans are so myopic and so blindly loyal to defending Jameis Winston and their football program that they would turn on the very man who created that football program, Bobby Bowden. I can't understand it, Paul. Do they not remember what their program was like before Bobby Bowden took it out of the dumpster and resurrected it? Look up Darryl Mudra, the guy who was before Bobby Bowden, and see what that program was like.
Well said. But fans are fans, Mike. You deal with them on two levels, both as a columnist and a radio talk show host. Try to explain to the rest of the audience here what FSU fans are saying and why are they saying it?
Well, I mean, again, this isn't all FSU fans. It's the legions of the miserable that get on some of these message boards and read some of the message board threads, Paul. I mean, they're calling Bobby Bowden senile. They're saying he's turned on the program. And again, this isn't all Florida State fans, but again, any Florida State fan who criticizes Bobby Bowden for the comments that weren't really any big deal. I mean, I heard him when he said it on your show yesterday, and I'm like, at least somebody at Florida State gets it. I mean, I'm glad somebody who represents Florida State finally came out and said something discouraging about how Jameis Winston's acted. Jimbo Fisher certainly hasn't done it. The athletic director at Florida State, he's been hiding under his desk for 2 years, not wanting to comment on Jameis Winston. The school president, whoever that is, I mean, he's been so busy ripping the New York Times and all the media outlets for their reporting on Jameis Winston that, he fails to understand that Jameis Winston is the man who has embarrassed Florida State, not the media reporting it, and certainly not Bobby Bowden.
And I wanted to ask you about the culture down there because there was an OTL piece recently quoting, I think the reporter was from Tampa, maybe St. Pete, that said he was harassed in reference to the Jameis investigation. I mean, Mike, you know the routine. You live down there, but are FSU fans any different than Florida fans, Alabama fans, Auburn fans, Tennessee fans?
Oh, no. I mean, no. But I do think on this particular issue, the Jameis Winston issue, because Jameis Winston, he's probably been more scrutinized than any college athlete ever, considering the media world we live in now, considering these sexual assault allegations, considering, he was a Heisman Trophy winner. I think he was probably even more scrutinized than Johnny Manziel because of the issues he faced. Florida State fans have, they've bunkered up, rallied around this guy, and they are very, very defensive about Jameis Winston. So in that respect, yeah, maybe they're a little bit different because I don't know of any other athlete who's been as scrutinized and as criticized, quite frankly, as Jameis Winston.
Talking to Mike Bianchi about the FSU situation, certainly that is one story. Let's talk about some other ones down there. First, the Florida basketball situation in the aftermath of Billy Donovan. I know you've had a lot of strong comments about that. Where is his program, and is it still an elite national brand?
Well, that remains to be seen. Personally, I think Billy Donovan was bigger than the Florida basketball program when they lost him. There is a fear down here among Gator fans, Gator administrators, people who observe the program that Florida basketball, I mean, Paul, you've been around the SEC a long time. Florida basketball before Billy Donovan, yeah, it had its pockets of success under Lon Kruger and guys like Norm Sloan, but nobody was ever able to sustain it. Most SEC basketball programs, for whatever reason, aren't able to build elite basketball programs in the SEC, and Billy Donovan was one of the few, except for Kentucky, that was able to do that. And I think there's a fear among Gator Nation that Gator basketball will go back to the mediocre pre-Donovan days.
What about Gator football? Will it go back to the mediocre pre-Spurrier days?
Well, it's already at the mediocre pre-Spurrier days. I mean, Will Muschamp and that offense that he ran made sure of that. I mean, I was talking to somebody earlier. I don't ever remember Gator fans being less excited about their football program as they are right now. You know, obviously the stadium's not sold out anymore. They used to have waiting lists for season tickets. Now they're promoting season ticket sales on newspaper websites throughout the state. So Gator fans not very excited right now. And Jim McElwain, quite frankly, even though I think he was a good hire, I think he hasn't excited Gator Nation because they didn't know who the guy was before he was hired. They didn't know he was coaching at Colorado State. They didn't know that he was the former offensive coordinator at Alabama. I think he's a good hire, but he's got a job ahead of him because that offense he inherits is not very good. The offensive line is in shambles. The quarterback situation is questionable. They don't have really any impact receivers to speak of. So if Jim McElwain can make the offense better this year, I think that'll be a good start to exciting the fan base again.
Why hasn't Jim McElwain excited people? Usually this is the honeymoon phase of a coach's tenure.
Because even though he did a fine job at Colorado State, he's not a splashy name. I mean, Gator fans were expecting the next Urban Meyer type of hire, and that was an aberration. The Gators, when they hired Urban Meyer after Ron Zook got fired, I mean, Urban Meyer was the hot guy. He just finished unbeaten at Utah. He had this newfangled spread offense, and the timing was right. I mean, he was the hot guy just at the time that the Gators had an opening. Well, Paul, I mean, who are the hot guys in college football now that are going to excite a fan base? I mean, if Nick Saban were to leave Alabama, is there a hot guy out there that Alabama is going to go hire that's going to excite the? I just don't. I think college football fans are delusional. That Florida fans were mentioning, let's go hire Chip Kelly, but. Yeah, Chip Kelly's going to leave the NFL, leave the Philadelphia Eagles to come coach the Gators in the SEC. I just think fans are sometimes delusional about how, what's the word I'm looking for, how good their job is. Again, Jim McElwain, I think, is a good hire, but he wasn't a splashy hire.
Well, the two hot hires in recent years have been most recently Jim Harbaugh and 3 years ago, Urban Meyer at Ohio State.
Yeah, but Michigan got Jim Harbaugh because he was, it was just the right timing, and he played at Michigan. If Jim Harbaugh wasn't ready to leave the NFL, Michigan's not going to hire a splashy coach either.
No,
right?
I mean, it's a fair point. There really are not that many out there. Speaking of a coach who was not flashy, but who is now beloved by his fan base as an assistant, not as a head coach, is Will Muschamp. Your thoughts on Muschamp now at Auburn, the impact he'll have, and the mess he left behind, which you've already alluded to some extent?
Well, he left a mess on offense behind it, and that's why he failed at Florida. He could never get it right on offense. He's a hell of a defensive coach. Everybody knows that. He's always had great defenses. He had great defenses at Florida, but his offenses for 4 straight years, Paul, they were ranked in the hundreds nationally. You can't be in the state of Florida with all the athletes in the state of Florida and have offense that are absolutely abysmal. Now, was it all his fault? No, but, he had 3 offensive coordinators in 4 years. Started out with Charlie Weiss. Charlie Weiss jumped ship after the first year. That probably was the beginning of the end of Muschamp, because after Charlie Weiss, it was just transition after transition. But Auburn's got a hell of a defensive coordinator and a great recruiter. He's really going to help Auburn. There's no question about it. Him alone will make that defense tons better next year.
We still have about 2 months before everyone convenes in Hoover, Alabama, for the SEC Media Days. If you had to vote today, who would your pick be in the East and West?
If I had to vote today, wow, that's a good one, Paul. Let me think about this.
I worked on it all day.
In the West, I'd probably take Auburn, because I think Muschamp's going to have that much of an impact. Alabama's obviously got some transition. I would probably take Auburn in the West, because I think that much of Will Muschamp as a defensive coach. Their offense is going to be good under Malzahn, so I think Muschamp will make a difference. In the East, I don't know. The East to me is up in the air. Georgia, maybe? Who do you like?
I don't. That's why I asked you. I have not made up my mind yet. I think both are fairly difficult to do, and which is good. Yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about the rest of the year.
Who do you like? Who do you like in the West right now?
I am stuck between Auburn and Alabama. I really am. I have not made up my mind yet. Paul,
you spent your whole career stuck between Auburn and Alabama.
Well, a little bit. I'm unstuck now. Hey, Mike, always fun to talk. Thanks so much for the time.
See you, Paul. Thanks.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Let's check in with Carly in Starkville, Mississippi. Hey, Carly.
Hey, what's up?
Doing great.
How are you today? You're doing great?
I am. Thank you for asking.
Well, I have to say, I am stuck in Starkville, Mississippi, and I just left Oxford on Monday on my way back home. And wearing my Ole Miss hat around town, I have been getting some shade from the people of Starkville.
Why? What are you doing? Are you from there, or what's the backstory?
I have a ton of friends down in Starkville, so I figured, why leave the great state of Mississippi? So I was going to spend a week down here, and wearing my Ole Miss hat around Starkville has proven to be a challenge. Because I have to say, I walk in anywhere and there's, 5 people there to, tell me to go back to Oxford.
Yeah, it's funny. I was in Oxford Friday and Saturday, and I saw, Mississippi State was playing baseball there, so you had a lot of people in town wearing state stuff, and it didn't seem like anyone really cared. I guess maybe there's a different view in Starkville than Oxford.
Yeah, as a student at Ole Miss, I have to say we're very accepting of all teams, unless, Bama fans, I don't know if they're accepted many places other than Bama, to be honest.
That's about right.
But we try to be, graceful and act with class towards adversity, even though the Egg Bowl did happen this year, and the Egg is in its rightful place in Oxford.
No doubt. Well, listen, maybe my only advice to you would maybe the rest of the week just leave your Ole Miss garb off.
That is true, but, I am nothing without school pride, so I'm definitely going to keep wearing the hat, but just, lay low for a little bit. But I do appreciate it. This definitely was a bet, and I did win, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Carly. Good to hear from you. Great stuff. I'm is next up.
Hey, afternoon. Good afternoon, Paul.
Afternoon.
I found the interview you had with the guy from ESPN earlier. He quit at 50. The prime of his life.
55.
55. He walked away, spend time with his family, have a life. He created a network that blew into a monster. And you know, he said some very important things. He said, be yourself. Don't take yourself so serious. Was he talking about, he said he was talking about employees, right?
He was.
And Jim thought he was going to work for you. He thought he was going to be your sidekick. And he wasn't talking about callers. He was talking about employees. And, you know, Paul, this has been a great week. We hadn't heard anything about any Twitter complaints, about any boo-boos he had as a child when he hurt his hand, his knee, his arm, his leg, his eyelid, his earlobe, his left nostril, when he cut himself shaving, those little boy whiskers. And you know, it's been outstanding. And then you got the Florida State fans in the uproar like your first caller. And doesn't he understand that the dude is an embarrassment? He's so much an embarrassment, the NFL coach had to come into the conversation. That's even more embarrassing. Wouldn't you agree with that, Paul? For an NFL guy in the big leagues, I'm talking about the big boys of the big boys. He's the coach of the big boys, going to get involved in this little petty conversation. It's embarrassment.
Sure is, man. It's an embarrassment. Thanks for the call. Embarrassment. Lawrence is up next in Virginia. Hey, Lawrence, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. I try to watch your show every day and enjoy it every time I do.
I appreciate that.
Just kind of rub a little more salt in the FSU wound. I might note that the White House did not invite the Florida State team after they won their national championship in defeating my Auburn Tigers, I might add.
Yeah, Lawrence, the official story on that is they couldn't work out a date. Now, no one believes that, but they're the only school in recent memory that was not invited to the White House.
Yeah. Well, if they were going to be invited to the White House, it would have been at the dead of midnight, lighted only with a single candle, which obviously still didn't happen.
No.
Enjoy it, Paul. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting that the school before Florida State, Alabama, was there, and the school after Florida State, Ohio State, was there, but FSU, they couldn't find a workable date. We always have time, and we could always find a workable date for our next caller. He is Charles from
Real Town, the loveliest little community on the
Charles,
planet.
welcome back to the show, my friend.
Well, you ain't got to welcome me back. Why you welcome me back for?
Well,
Paul?
you haven't called in months.
I ain't quit. I ain't say I quit. I'm calling right now.
Well, good.
What I want to know is, Paul, your show like a soap opera. I ain't called in a while, a few weeks. You know what? Yeah, I ain't missed a damn blame thing. You got the dumbest callers I ever heard in my life. Old Larry. Old. What's his name?
Now, Charles, let me see if I get this straight. You hold on a second, Charles. You, Charles from Real Town, said, and I quote, "Your show has the dumbest callers I've ever seen."
Yeah, they do. They dumb, Paul. It's the same thing. It's like a soap opera. Darryl says the same thing every day. Jumbo from Tuscaloosa. Old Larry from Shelbyville, everywhere he's from. There's another Larry from Missouri. Now you got these women calling in. They say the same thing. It's a soap opera. You can miss a dead blame year and call in, and it'll pick right up where it left off.
So other than that, Charles, how have you been doing?
I've been doing pretty good. How you been doing?
I've been okay. Making it.
You know I'm finna sue you?
What's that?
I'm fixing to sue you.
You're fixing to sue me?
Sue you. Breach of contract.
Breach of contract?
All those promises you made me up there in Tuscaloosa when I was gracious enough to waste my time and gas to get up there and have a picture of me taken to be on your front of your book, which that picture on that book has sold millions of copies for you. Mm-hmm. And you said I was fixing to take off. ESPN said I was fixing to take off. And you even said, Charles, you better hold your seat because you finna take off. Well, I'm still down here in Real Town, and I ain't took off yet.
Charles, that's really not my fault. That everyone else is taking.
Your fault.
I mean, all the other callers have. I mean, Iman's well known. Tammy's well known. Everyone who was there has become well known. But you.
I've always been well known. I'm well known enough. I want something else. Anyway, let me tell you.
Sorry, Charles. We'll see you later.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast. ESPN Radio, bringing you directly to the biggest events in sports.
Center field, well hit, Hunter back, out of here!
From opening day of baseball,
Throw to the plate, safe at the plate!
right through the World Series.
For the third time in 5 seasons, the San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
Whether it's LeBron, Chris Paul, or Kevin Durant, when the NBA tips off, ESPN Radio is right there when a champion is crowned.
We have a new world champion. The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
And when the magic of bowl season arrives, ESPN Radio is your home for the new college football playoff.
The college football playoff first national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
The biggest events in sports can be found right here on ESPN Radio. This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
And joins us Mike Bianchi on the fallout down in Florida over Bobby Bowden's comments. You heard from Bruce Pearl as well. Now, before a few news items, but Charles, why are you still on the phone? I thought I hung up on you.
Paul, let me tell you something. You said call back later. Well, it's later.
Okay.
I called back in. I can tell you something, Paul. You better do something about your show. You done stuck your neck out. You used to be the straw that stirred something up between Auburn and Alabama. Now you pro-Alabama so much because of Nick Saban. You and him done stepped out of the closet. Everybody knows that. Except them crazy women keep calling them, wanting to nibble on your ears and slobber all over you. Let me tell you something. Auburn and Gus Malzahn's going to take over, and Nick Saban's they're going to get him run off. And what you going to do then, Paul? Linda knows about all that. She's going to leave you, take half her money with you, and you're going to be left like old Charles from Reeltown. You're going to be down here stuck with nothing, or you're going to be up there stuck with nothing, just like old Charles from Reeltown. And you'll be just like me. You won't have nothing. You ain't going to have no friends. You ain't going to have a dead blame thing. And I want it to happen as soon as possible. You just keep on. You done throwed your eggs all in one basket. They fixing to come back on you and haunt you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Ain't nothing you can do about it, won't do about it, can't do about it, because you made the bed and you slept in it, and now you're going to get kicked out of the bed by Gus Malzahn. You ain't going to be able to brag on Gus Saban. Nick.
Thank you very much, Charles. I think that was about all we could handle. It. Meanwhile, we understand, according to Brett McMurphy from ESPN, Alabama now is one of those schools that have said we will take Golson. We will take Everett Golson. That is according to Brett McMurphy. There are apparently 10 schools that he is interested in. He was at Florida, Florida State. Apparently Georgia was among those. Now Alabama has entered the fray. South Carolina apparently wants no part of him. So that is certainly an interesting sideshow going on right now.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Brett McMurphy of ESPN reporting some news today about Golson in Alabama. Brett, nice enough to join us now. Brett, thanks for the time as always. Give us the latest. What's going on with this ever-changing caper?
Yeah, the sweepstakes continue for Everett Golson. Today he visited Georgia. The last couple of days he was at Florida State and Florida. A source said that Alabama would take Golson if he decided to come to the Crimson Tide. However, Alabama is skeptical that the SEC would grant the waiver needed for Golson to get to an SEC school because he, had some academic issues at Notre Dame, was suspended for the 1 year. As you know, the SEC has the rule for graduate transfers where you can't have any suspension or academic issues, and to get that waiver lifted, you can only do that with the permission of either Mr. Slive or Mr. Greg Sankey, the commissioner-elect. So Alabama wants him. Will Golson pick them? We don't know. But if he does pick Alabama, they would still have to apply for the waiver and hope that it gets granted.
Brett, this is where I scratch my head and go, would it be that difficult for Nick Saban or Mark Richt or anyone in this league to pick up the phone and call Greg or Commissioner Slive and say, listen, what's the deal? Isn't that the way it's supposed to be done as opposed to wooing someone and then finding out you can't get him?
Yeah, and I'm sure behind the scenes they have been reaching out to people in the SEC office. When Golson, announced last week that he was transferring, I talked to somebody that knows the SEC pretty well and alerted me to the waiver rule and said basically those things are hard to come by. I know the reason the rule was put in place because of Jeremiah Masoli when he left Oregon to go to Ole Miss. He was basically, because of a number of issues, just basically wanted to play somewhere else after getting run out of another school. But, you look at what Golson did. Yes, he cheated at Notre Dame, but he sat out a year and he returned to the school and he graduated from Notre Dame. He's not a discipline problem. So I agree with you. It is kind of funny that you can actually have off the field issues and remain at an SEC school or actually be allowed to go to an SEC school, but because of this academic issue, even though you have a degree from Notre Dame, you're not allowed to attend an SEC school as a graduate transfer.
The other question I would like to have clarified is why, considering Alabama has a large number of quarterbacks already on the roster, they took Jake Coker a year ago, why would they want Everett Golson?
I think that means they're not settled at quarterback, and basically you have a talent like Golson, and yes, he had a boatload of turnovers, 22 turnovers last year, but Alabama saw firsthand what he could do in the championship game in 2012. He wasn't the reason they lost that game. He led them to an undefeated regular season. He's got a big-time arm, and if you can cut down on the turnovers, you've got a big-time talent. And you just remember last year, Notre Dame was, an offensive pass interference call away from improving to 6-0 or 7-0 by winning at Florida State and lost that game and kind of burst their bubble. They lost 5 of the last 6, and that's really where Golson had most of his problems. But certainly any school is not going to take on somebody like that unless they think he can contribute. So maybe that's sending a message to the current guys on the roster that maybe they're not settled at quarterback and they think Golson would be an upgrade. It's kind of interesting also with Florida State. Sean McGuire, the heir apparent to Jameis Winston, but Florida State, by all accounts, would take Golson also and appears to be the leader in the clubhouse, if you will, to gain his services. I think a lot of people would be surprised by Florida State taking him on too, but I think that just shows the kind of talent that Golson has displayed over his career with Notre Dame.
And piggybacking off of that, Brad, not to turn you into the next Danny Sheridan, but
please don't do that, Paul.
Okay, but you're handicapping it. So Florida State, the leader, you said in the clubhouse. How would the rest of it fall?
I'd say Florida State, the prohibitive leader. I'd say Georgia would be next, and I think it's probably a 2-horse race right now. I had heard initially that LSU may be a possibility, but it appears like Golson won't be visiting LSU, so I don't think a school that he doesn't visit would be one of the favorites. So I think Florida State's the overwhelming favorite. And Georgia after that. But, I wonder if this waiver rule wasn't in place, if maybe that would change the pecking order. But at least right now it appears like it's Florida State. And the fact that Jimbo Fisher, when we talked to him at the ACC spring meetings right now, when we talked to him the other day about Golson, he was very open about him and talked about, he's a good young man. And, obviously he's not going to come out and risk a secondary NCAA violation by discussing a prospective recruit. But, it appears that he will end up at Florida State. Obviously, things like this can change at the last minute. But you asked me where I think he'll end up. I think it'll be Florida State.
Well done. Brett McMurphy with the latest on Everett Golson, always subject to change. Brett, we'll talk soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Good stuff. Wow. Brett McMurphy saying Alabama would take him if they could get a waiver. But the headline of that conversation, Florida State, a leader in the clubhouse for Everett Golson.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Larry is up next. Larry, what's up?
What's up, Jack?
That's my name, Jack.
If that Iranian nuke deal don't go through, it's your fault, Hey, man, every thing is your fault. You know, like this Bobby Bowden, man, I've heard him blasting you today. You set him up. It's your fault. You know, what? I mean,
I would like to know, I've been criticized by many people, Larry. What did I do other than I gave my opinion and asked him a question? I mean, it's not like I'm sitting there, the guy's, begging me for food and I'm giving him a straw to drink his drink and giving him soda crackers. I mean, he's an adult. He's 85 years old, but he sounded pretty good to me.
Hey, you got that right, Jack. I mean, I'm just tickled because it's like the first time it's happened with you. You take a lot of heat. But, Finebaum, you bulletproof, son. That's what I love about you. You take it and you keep going. But, what really gets me, why anyone thinks that I would have the ability, the talent, or the want to put words in someone's mouth, Larry. I mean, that's not me. That's not my style. We don't do that. No, that's what I love about the show, man. And everybody's mad at Bowden how he gave his opinion, but everybody wants their opinion to be overheated. Hey, he was right, and I love the show, and I love this to you, man, because like I said, your ass is bulletproof, son. Y'all go ahead and take the shots at Finebaum. But, hey, when he gets in that phone booth, Jack, and comes out and rips that clothes off and Superman. Roll Tide, Pop.
You got that right, Jack.
Jack.
Thanks for the call.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Jeff is next in Columbus, Ohio. Hey, Jeff.
How are you doing, Paul?
We are doing great. Thank you.
You forgot to say the epicenter of college football, Columbus, Ohio.
I did forget to say that.
Yes, sir. Hey, I wanted you to check the transcript of your show today, Paul. Did I understand that guy from Tennessee before the last break was kind of whining a little bit at the end about injuries to Alabama in the Sugar Bowl?
He said T.J. Yeldon was injured and was not 100%.
Or something about fourth and fifth string players or something I thought I heard him say.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure about that. If you do remember, I didn't go down that avenue with him knowing the state of the quarterback situation at the Ohio State.
I don't know. You were kind of agreeing with him a little bit, Paul. And then you come back to Dub there and say you can't complain about schedule, but you sure were leaning towards the injury angle on that, Paul. I was kind of surprised.
Well, if I did, I was just being agreeable. But you've never heard me specifically blame that loss on injuries. I can assure you of that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because that won't play.
I mean, here's the problem, Jeff. You guys in Columbus have your arms wrapped around something that you are not familiar with, and that's a national championship. That's actually attention and respect of the rest of the college football world after you consider what's transpired there under Jim Tressel, the long odyssey that has gone on during this period. I mean, enjoy the moment. Don't trash talk Alabama fans who have had a birthright to national championships in recent years. I don't think that's a really wise avenue to go down. You have a good coach. You have a great program. Enjoy it. Don't start throwing little pebbles at the SEC because they will come back and bite you, my friend.
I understand. I'm sitting outside Woody Haste football complex there right now, Paul, and I'm seeing a lot of hardware through the window.
Yeah, has Woody taken a swing at anyone lately?
No. Hey, but I just want to know, what's going on with the quarterback play down there in the SEC with everybody scrambling to get this Golson guy, a turnover machine? I've never seen a conference that in February all we hear about is recruiting ranking, and in April and May all we hear about NFL draft pick, and they're scrambling.
Let me ask you a question, Jeff. I mean, this is a great script that you're reading from, but I don't normally go down this road. But the SEC, the one you're making so much fun of here, I mean, did win 7 consecutive national championships, did have 8 consecutive national championship appearances, and if you include Alabama and Ohio State, 9 consecutive appearances in either the BCS championship game or the college football playoff Final Four. That is not exactly something to laugh at, to ridicule, or to make fun of, but enjoy your moment in the sun. I hope.
I'm just asking.
I mean, we're not. The good news is we're talking about Ohio State winning national championships. We're no longer talking about them being involved in ugly scandals with tattoos and Terrell Pryor with a coach who embarrassed themselves. So enjoy the moment. Congratulations.
Thank you for listening to the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast. Tune into the Paul Finebaum Show every day from 3 to 7 Eastern on the SEC Network or on the ESPN radio app. Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.